A.L.I.C.E pads are just squares. There's no support here, and the pad down there is just a basic square one too. It's very uncomfortable, and especially if you're wearing other gear like we talked about earlier, the assault vest or whatever else. It's going to,
I don't know, is that
That's L.B.
that's the old LBE system.
yeah, I'm trying to remember. That's not for the A.L.I.C.E.
No, it's got more
If
pads.
you had the belt, you could, you'd have on the bottom. Because my LBE system I used to wear, but the belt was so long, I had it looped out because I never fit it tight. I'd have like 4 canteens on it, and a couple of magazine holders, so the belt was like size 60. And it draped up below my pack because that's the other thing.
Well, that's what you gotta do,
Well, yeah, when you talk about systems, I mean, you can never wear those LBEs like they were designed because they went around your waist. Well, guess what's around your waist too? So you got all these canteens and a butt pack and everything there, and then all of a sudden, well, that don't fit. So you're gonna strip down all your gear and switch around. So anyway, I'd highly recommend you all come over and pick this one up and just feel that. I mean, it's out of the gate like 18, 20 pounds, and it looks cool. But again, here's the next thing: when we're talking about bugging out, depending on where we're at and who we're dealing with. Well, I want to come walking down the street with this, see the 15 guys that go, there's Mr. Tactical, we got to be nervous, we're worried about him, and now it weighs so much I couldn't run if I wanted to. So, that's a good deterrent. I went ahead and brought in a couple of these standard medium A.L.I.C.E packs that I had laying around, so you guys can see. Now, again, if you have the Blackhawk gear, like we talked about on these 2 packs, I'll show you something that's really nice. If you want to change out packs, and if you have the standard military issue stuff, this will not work for you, but I can actually take and unbuckle this, and I can take both of these and I can slide this whole pack off of here without unhooking my shoulder straps. Now, a standard A.L.I.C.E system, you cannot do that. You'd have to unhook the whole thing and start over. So if I want to, I can effectively transition between bags in a matter of minutes. So the medium A.L.I.C.E is really one of my favorites because it's extremely versatile. It's always got these little rings sewed up in here, so you can wear it with just shoulder straps if you want. No frame. So it cuts a few pounds off and it's more versatile. But again, there is nothing for around the middle section, so if you're running with this and no frame, this is what it looks like. Let me show you. Make it work. This is what it looks like. You can imagine, I mean, it's like all over the place. So, if you're going to have one of these and no frame, I plan on it going everywhere. And you want to make sure whatever you're hauling is inside of here, tucked up tight in your PRC 44 pouch, which is the old radio pouch. Now, I've taken this one and modified it on my own. I actually sewed in a laptop sleeve. So that's the nice thing about these. They're cheap enough where you can go ahead and play with them if you want. So I sewed the whole thing up, and so if I want to, I can take this and throw it on there, and I can have my laptop and everything inside there. Because the PRC 44, nothing else fits up besides like MREs and some other stuff. So, but if you want to try your hand at sewing, it's always a good way to practice. So these are, especially ones that are torn up, like if you go to CJL Enterprises or CLJ, one of those, he's on Craigslist. They get these packs in all the time they buy in bulk, and there's junk ones, so you can say, hey, look, I want to buy one cheap to just go play with, practice on, whatever. I'm sure they'll make you a deal on it. So if you have a serious budget in mind and you're trying to stay within it, I would say medium A.L.I.C.E is definitely a possibility because there are still quite a few of these out there. They're just getting a little harder and harder to find. So it's another example of a medium A.L.I.C.E that I modified a frame for before I had that down east frame. This used to be a very similar frame to this one. It was different outdoor products. Instead of having this square top, it had a rounded top. And so what I was able to do is I just did some measuring and I cut it's already stuck. Anyway, I cut this off at the top and cleaned up the edges, and it allowed me to have a nice short frame. And I had straps on it. I had one of those Blackhawk setups on it, and it was really nice because it held everything tight to my body like I like, but it still had enough air to get in there and keep my back nice and cool. So you'll notice too on all these military packs, there's a real limiting factor, and that is, I'll show you again on this one. When I put it on, there's no real estate above your head. With those other packs you saw me put on, there's always something up here, okay? And that's usually for your ground roll or whatever. But these are not, because you're designed to be laying down shooting. So you can't have anything behind you. So these are another thing you need to think about when you're looking at these. What is your roll going to be? More than likely, those of us here can't see us all in a shootout scenario. So having a little extra real estate up there to put stuff on or mount things could be very beneficial. So the last one I've got here is kind of like that thing that's the myth on the internet that no one's ever seen. It's very hard to find. This is the Hellcat system. Have any of you guys heard of that? Where it uses the MOLLE system and some of the Rifleman 2, and rather the MOLLE Rifleman 2 stuff and the A.L.I.C.E system together. It uses this one. I've got a medium A.L.I.C.E set up. It'll work with either one, but it uses the sleeve carrier for the MOLLE 2 Rifleman pack and the MOLLE 2 Rifleman shoulder straps and waist on the A.L.I.C.E frame, which very soon is going to go on that down east frame, by the way. I just wanted to show it to you for this one and not changing it out. So anyway, this allows you, because normally if you have an A.L.I.C.E pack and you have a sleeping bag, you don't have any room left in your A.L.I.C.E bag because they don't have a dedicated sleep carrier area. You can try to strap them underneath, but it just doesn't work. So you're taking up a lot of the real estate inside your pack on just the sleeping bag. So this allows you to have a sleeping bag on the outside, and then have plenty of strap and stuff for padding for outside. So anyway, this one, the pad, it goes a lot further down, more towards your tailbone, but it allows you to put that weight right on your hips where we want it. And then you can see I can adjust it very easily. Transition's nice. It has, it feels really good on. I mean, and even with the standard GI shoulder pads, I didn't even get the Blackhawk ones for this because it is so comfortable. So this is the one that it's really hard to find right now, and I had to order from a guy in Florida because when they started making this MOLLE 2 system.
Don't forget your dump straps.
What's that?
Those are nice features.
Oh yeah, exactly, where you can just drop it, go. So this particular piece of the system, they didn't make very long because they were transitioning in colors and different bags. So this bag really is what makes part of this system, and they didn't make very many of them. And so they started making them, and then they changed colors, and then they changed the whole system over. So it's a pretty rare thing anymore to find a good one of these. So if you're really looking at something like this, I get it now because they're going to be gone. So
Yeah, but then that gets you back to the idea of that being tactical and...
yes, exactly. This is my at-home go bag. When I have this in the house, and I have an emergency, and I have lots of different water filtration. I have, you know, all the stuff where if I've got to go out for 5 or 6 days, and I don't know where we're going, I'm taking that. Even though it's tactical, I will probably end up getting some kind of a cover sewn for it, so it lessens off some of the tactical. If, you know, maybe that has a yellow insert in it, so it's two-sided, where the yellow would be more of a, hey, I need a signaling device. Then I can turn it out, yellow would be there, but for the most part, this is the one that's gonna sit there. I'm gonna use this one in my truck, those 3 together as my primary, if I need to have an emergency and I gotta do something in my truck, because of the versatility of it. If I'm out somewhere, and this is really what this boils down to when I talk about versatility. Those 3 packs, might seem like a lot to deal with, but realistically, if I go up and I want to make some kind of a base camp, and I want to pull off the one and go down and get water, I don't have to take all that stuff to go get water. I can leave those other two there. I can just now take this small one and go fill it up. For this one, guess what? We're all going for the party. I mean, everybody's going. It don't matter, you know. And now if you set up base camp, I mean, anybody who's camp knows you set it up. You got half your shit spread out all over the place. Now you got to pack all that stuff up to go down there to fill up and do whatever you want to do, because, I mean, how much stuff are you really wanting to leave behind? You know, where I can go hide a small bag like that, or I can put it somewhere and nobody's going to know it's there. Walk off, go get water, and come back to it. So, one thing I forgot to mention too on these water systems. Now I have, this is the one out of the high-tech bag that I had earlier. It was one of my bags that broke. I recommend checking them frequently, because where'd that stuff go? Oh yeah, okay, right. Now I'll bleach these pretty frequently to make sure, you know, clean them out, make sure nothing's growing in there. This one has a hairline crack. You can barely see right there. We can come up and look at it later. But what I'll always do on these is I'll actually air them up. I'll put them all together, put the cap on it, blow air into it. And then I'll sit there and I'll squeeze it and I'll see if I can find a leak in it, because I'd rather find a leak in it now than when I'm going to fill it up with the last 2 liters of water I have, and going out and find out somewhere that, hey, it's all gone and my bag's all wet. So this one I found out was bad, and I'll be honest with you, when I first got these high Sierra ones, they were okay for holding water. But the problem I had with them was the bite valve. Okay, the one the high Sierra had and the one they still have is terrible. I really like these Camelback ones. Okay, so, you know, but who would ever think you could take a Camelback one and put it in a high Sierra? But I'll tell you, bag doesn't know. Neither does this. They don't care. So if there's a piece or a part that you like from the other ones, I went to Home Depot, I got new tubing, made sure the tubing all fit, slid it together, and then started putting the pieces together, and it works. And so now I have the best of both worlds. I have a good quality one of these, but I have the best system for drinking out of. And this one is actually a little valve, and so you can open and close it, because those high Sierra ones I used to look like this. If you see me at the air show or something, this whole half of my body was wet from this thing dripping on me all day. So this little valve, and it has the bite valve too, completely solved that problem. So it's like $15 for these two pieces, and I don't have any problems anymore. So I have these little bite valves. I buy them now. Just about anytime I see them, having one for backup. So as I get a new bag or a new bladder, I update it and upgrade it. And then even there's one here that's, this is one of their older systems, but it worked pretty well. And it even leaked quite a bit, so I just haven't got around to upgrade it since somebody borrowed it from me. But there's little things you can do like that that'll make your life a lot better. And that's really, for me, the key is if we're gonna have a bug out situation and I gotta run over hell and gone, I wanna at least be comfortable while I'm doing it. So, because there's probably gonna be enough stress and whatever else is going on that you want a little bit of comfort. And that's where, like, as an example, and I don't have time to go over what's in bug out bags for me right now, but I'll tell you right now that for my kids, I do a lot of that high C fruit drink. You mix in, you know, and shake up a bottle, and they get that, because that's a little bit of normalcy for them in their bag. Because that's what I want. I want to be able to say, you know what, things are tough, but hey, let's sit down and take a break and enjoy something and have a little bit of a flashback. So if we're walking 20 miles or whatever it is, I want to be able to say, at least I'm comfortable. I'm not strapped into my old A.L.I.C.E gear wearing 60 pounds of stuff and plus 100 rounds of ammunition and 2 different cans, and, you know, oh, and then I don't even have any food with me, you know. So I can't tell you, I was the 60 guy. They said, you're big, you're carrying a 60. So there's 200 round cans of ammunition in my thing, plus whatever I'm carrying on me, and all my other gear, and, you know, so, you know, I don't enjoy that anymore. I mean, it would be if I was carrying a 60 again, I guess, but I don't want to pretend like I'm carrying one without carrying one. So probably went through that pretty quick. Are there questions? Anybody? I mean, and I highly recommend you guys come up here if you don't have a bag, or even if you do have a bag, come up and try some of these out, see how they work in your system, because let me tell you, I spent a lot of money on these, and some of them I'll never use, like that SOF ruck. I mean, that thing, that was like $300 and something for that thing, and guess what? When I got it here, this thing won't work at all. It is way too heavy. So I highly recommend you come up and try them out, ask me some questions or whatever. So anybody questions out there? No? Yes? Food storage.
You said you didn't have any food with you carrying a big giant bag like that. I'm wondering.
Well, I'll just tell you the cheat. I sell freeze-dried food. It's very light. So I usually do, I have 2 different ways to boil water. I usually carry 3 different water filtration systems, smaller ones, lighter ones. And that way, wherever I'm at, my freeze-dried food always has something to meet with to make sure I get the sustenance I need.